Papa got beats, make it hit like
come down. Oh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. I'ma have to cut you off, like right now. You see, I don't want to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke something. Try the marijuana. I was loving you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they feeling strange. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and a color on your lip.
Welcome to the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast, powered by Blue Wire. Shout out to the new company. My name is Michael-Shawn You guys know where to follow me on whatever Elon Musk is calling that app these days. My at name has not changed. At Mike Dugard, Mikedugar. Shout out to everyone who is watching, listening, or whatever on our YouTube channel. Seahawks Man-to-Man is the name of the channel. Seahawks Man, the number 2 man. We appreciate all the love and support on there from our audio-only people. Just slide over to YouTube real quick, hit the subscribe, like button, or whatever. You can just come right back, all right? That support that you give there, that really helps us out. So I appreciate all of that love. Chris, go ahead and talk to him.
What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, Christopher Kidd. You can follow me on Twitter at CKIDD206, and that is CKid206. Wow, it's been a long time, man. A whole month, Mike. The last time we did a pod was with your boy, Mr. Barry. That was a fun one. Got to learn some ins and outs of the Seahawks scouting and everything leading up to the NFL draft, but it's time to rock and roll, man. Another grind for Mike. Actually, grind. And I can just use the word grind for myself.
Yeah, no, it was sorry, y'all. You know, sometimes I gotta take a little break, you know. And if you be honest, I was peeping when I was away working on some other projects. I was like, ain't that much people are talking about in Seahawks world right now. Most of the big storylines were like other teams, guys asking for trades, guys getting paid, guys getting cut, guys retiring. You know, not a lot in Seahawks world other than like some like random thoughts about like DK getting traded. And I was like, I'm not entertaining that. You know, I just don't have time for that while I'm on paternity leave. So, and now we're back. Training camp starting this week. The rookies have already reported. Some veterans already in town. You can see it via the social media or whatever. You know, Gino already did an interview with the Seahawks in-house reporter, John Boyle. So yeah, it's time. Football is right here. I seen some training camp videos over the weekend. I was like, oh, it's time. So I think it was the Texans are practicing. They must be in the Hall of Fame game. I was like, oh, football's back. So yeah, let's do it.
Well, to get this thing started, we do have Twitter questions. We went to y'all and got some questions ahead of training camp. So we're gonna get rolling and start off with Eric at _MAK. Eric, how was your time off?
Yeah, man. I've been basically off since like May. It's been great. A lot of paternity leave. The New York Times gives us like 12 weeks. I don't know if that's standard or what, but it felt like a long time. Great. Shout out to the New York Times. A lot of time with the kid. I know some people were confused. I think I tweeted I was on paternity leave in like January or something like that. And it was, I know when you announce something like that, people think you're about to have the kid. My daughter's already 1. I just delayed the paternity leave. So yeah, it was great. Spent a lot of time with her. Worked on a long-term project that I can't announce quite yet. I will let you guys know. I think we'll probably announce it on the show. Maybe we'll work on that. Signed a new deal with The Athletic, so I'm back. You know, round of applause for me. Read up for a couple years, and I got married. Chris was there. It was a good time.
Great time, man.
Mostly everyone followed the dress code. It was like everyone was supposed to wear all black, while me and my daughter and my wife were the only ones in white. It looked really cool. The aesthetic was very fire, outside of like 4 people who just can't read invites apparently, or just don't care.
That blows my mind. You get the invitation, you get an email, and it clearly states what to wear, and then you still on the wedding day show up not in the attire. I think it's not that they just can't read. They just decided I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
which is
like
crazy.
There's only like 3 or 4 people out of like 100-something guests, so not too bad.
It shouldn't even be 3 or 4 people, man.
No, you're 100% right. Especially the invite specifically said no jeans, and my man wore jeans. They're just like,
Now-
bro, you wore the thing it specifically said don't wear.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
like specifically, there's only one thing it actually said not to wear was jeans, and he wore blue ones too. It was just like, bro, what is going on? But outside, I ain't taking no pictures with him. That's my man, but he's not in no pictures. No. Outside of that, that was a good time. So yeah, my ring doesn't fit. So if you see me out and I don't have my ring on, I sent it back to get resized. I'm not just out here just freewheeling, with no ring on. But that's why I'm not rocking one. So yeah, it's a good time off. So that's also why I've taken some time. I'm a little busy, you guys, doing the dad thing, teaching my daughter to walk, getting married, and doing a lot of writing. Yeah, so a lot of interviewing. And I can't wait to share with you guys what that's going to be about. So, yeah, the time off was on purpose. Me and Chris weren't just slouching around. Chris started started taking over now. He's basically got his own radio show now. Like he's busy now and everything.
That's kind of what's been my update. Is sometimes you're put in positions where you want it to be different, but when stuff happens, you just got to go for it. So now I'm hosting 10 to noon Monday through Friday on KJR FM with Greg Bell, who covers the Seahawks. You guys have probably read some of his work, because I know you guys are all big Seahawks fans. So I'm sure you read Seattle Times, The Athletic, Seahawks.com. You guys are familiar with all the writers and journalists for the Seahawks. So I'm working with Greg Bell now, and that's been fun. It's been tough because I'm not the biggest baseball guy, but here I am now having to analyze and talk baseball more and more. So
there you go. Watch some baseball, baby. Watch some baseball. It's awful, but I'm glad you're watching. I ain't watching. I'll tell you that right now.
So yeah, it's been good. And then went to Mike's wedding, and that was great. Also, the bachelor party that we went to about a month ago, literally, that was also
about the bachelor party. Yeah.
Well, it's been you've been busy, so it's been a bunch of things. You've had your hands full, literally. So from the bachelor party to hosting radio to getting back into the swing of things, something that I enjoy doing, which is the Seahawks Man to Man podcast, talking football. It's another year to study film and see all these new rookies and see what Gino, how he can improve. So it's been quite some time off. I need to actually text you, Mike, and get the updated version for film, because the old version that you sent me last year, it's expired. I was trying to go back and watch some old stuff, and it's gone. So I got to get my re-up with you.
Yeah, but the film process is going to change this year a little bit. I'll let you know.
Oh, look at that. It's going to change again, but it's all good. So yeah, my off season, the month off was good. And now it's time to get back into the grind. I'm excited, as I mentioned. So I won't hold too much of your time with what I did other than bachelor party and doing radio. But other than that, man, it's been a blast. But Mike, are you ready to get into some nitty gritty, man? Because I know the folks want to know about this Seahawks team more than anything.
You're not going to mention your shirtless hike?
No, man. That was just a day. That was yesterday, man. No need to mention that. But hey,
shirtless hike,
Here he goes.
No, that's cool. We can do the questions. I just wanted to throw that in. That's all.
For new listeners, if you're first time listening, I used to tease Mike because we play flag football on Saturdays, and Mike will take his shirt off when it's 50 degrees and cold. And he'd be like, I'm hot. I'm just Mike, man. It's not hot. It is freezing out here, but his body gets warm, his shirt comes off. So then Mike decides to now, every time I have my shirt off, he thinks it's really cool to throw shade at me and poke fun when I have my shirt off. When is acceptable?
I'm just making an observation. That's all. No. The shirtless hike. That's all. No shade, just an observation.
It's shade. This has been happening.
I didn't know people usually hike shirtless. I didn't know if that was the thing. See, I haven't been on a hike since I was like 12. So I walking for fun is not my bag. Hikes are not me. People be like, "Oh yeah, who's down to go on a hike?" Oh boy, you will not get a text back from Mike. You mentioned you're walking up a hill for fun in the sun. No, sir, not for Mike.
It's about when you get to the climax.
Send me them pictures from the top. That's it.
I think I can get Mike on a hike. That's going to be my goal probably in the next few weeks. See if I can get Mike on a hike. I could probably lie to him, be like, "Hey, bro, we're about to go do this," and then pull up to the mountain. He's not going to not get out the car, so that might have to work.
We'll get out there. I'll 100% sit in the car, listen to a podcast. I'll be back soon. I'll take a nap.
Well, let's get going, man. This dude Mike is off. You know what? You know what you guys should do? you guys should at Mike and send him all different locations for good hikes, good walks. He might not ever go, but at least you've sent him some information that he might be willing to check out and see what's the hype about that specific location. Because I think that'll change Mike's mind when he actually sees some of these destinations. And they're not all uphill. You can get some flat little terrain where you can just walk through and it's not as bad. But I hear you, Mike. I'm not going to get into it with hiking.
Those efforts are futile, my brother. Don't waste y'all effort. Don't waste y'all time. Tweet me anything else but that.
Well, let's get rolling here. We got our guy Chihuahua Glory. He's back. How does Seattle management view the safety and linebacker room? Are they satisfied, or do they see that there is work to be done?
That's a good question. Yeah, I feel like everyone else's view of these particular position groups is much different than the management's view of them. That's why I'm glad the question was framed this way. Because, yeah, you guys, and, you know, I'll include myself in this, you may look and see Rayshawn Jenkins, Julian Love, Kavon Wallace, Jerome Baker, Tyrell Dodson, and then Tyrese Knight, the rookie. You might see that group and go, what are we doing? But the front office sees that and is like, A, the books are a lot more balanced because before they were paying safeties just a ridiculous amount of money. You know, Jamal was making a lot of bread. Julian Love wasn't making a lot of bread, but he was relative to like the other positions, I guess, or not relative to the other positions, but just on top of what Jamal and Quandre were making. So like, I think Jamal and Quandre at one point were like the first and third highest paid safeties. And then, so you just add in another safety making $6 million a year. You just like, Jesus, we're spending, I think at one point there was their salary cap was like 40 million on safeties or something very close to that number last year. So that's one of the first things they're looking at. And if you think, I understand you may hear that and like, yo, who cares? You know, we got to win games. Damn the books. The books matter. If y'all been watching the Giants offseason Hard Knocks thing, I've only seen a couple episodes. I don't know how many are out, but you can kind of see how these GMs think, particularly how they were talking about Saquon in one of those episodes. Like, we're paying Daniel Jones this much. Do we want to pay a running back this much? A running back at this age, looking at the numbers on when running backs decline. Like, you kind of see how they talk about players. I'm actually fascinated by the offseason Hard Knocks. But I say all that to say, like, you can apply some of that logic to how I'm sure John Snyder and his guys are talking about the safety spot. And like, yo, we're paying a 30-year-old safety, which Quandre's 30. We're paying him X amount and paying Jamal this amount. And he just can't stay healthy and blah, blah, blah. So that's how they're first looking at it. So, yes, safeties, I'm sure they are satisfied with just I feel like they feel like they're more likely to get a higher return on investment, you know, like a higher profit margin, so to speak. Like, how much are these guys making? Chris,
it's not a lot.
It's pretty low.
And compared to what they've had previously, they're getting a bargain. They're getting a steal is what you would call it. They're not spending much at all. So,
which I don't think is necessarily like a good thing per se, but you're more likely to get like more. These guys are more likely to outplay their contracts than the previous group was.
That's how the Seahawks have won it. Yeah.
Yes, that's what you want. You want guys to be like, oh man, that's a steal. You know, like you said. You know, let's see. Julian Love's base salary this year is $5 million. Who else? See, I got to scroll. Rayshawn Jenkins is at 1.2.
Jerome Baker is at what? $4 million. That's base is $2 million.
Yeah, and this Kavon Wallace 1.1. Yes, so these guys, so the front office, again, this is how they're viewing it. I'm very concerned about these position groups, to be very clear. But front office is like, yo, there's a better chance that these guys outplay their contracts. And if you're trying to build a championship roster, other than just like pushing all your chips in on a really expensive team and like kind of what the Eagles are doing, you see they just throw void years on everything because they feel like they're right there. So they're like, whatever, we'll pay everybody because we feel like we have a contender. The Niners are kind of doing the same thing. They're like, we'll pay everybody but Ayuk because we feel like we have the nucleus of a championship team. But everyone else, you basically need to, you know, dig in the couch looking for a nickel and find $1, right? It's basically what the Seahawks are trying to do at linebacker and at safety. But yes, if you're talking about how these guys on the field, how the front office is viewing that, the sense I've gotten on that is it's about versatility. That's basically what I've got. Younger and then versatile. It's like, okay, are Jerome Baker and Tyrell Dodson better than Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks? Probably not. Like, I don't think anyone can, like, in good faith say that. And even in 2024, if you think like Bobby's lost a step or whatever, I just don't think in good faith you can be like, yeah, those two are better than Jordan and Bobby. However, if you're looking at versatility and interchangeability, then I don't even know if interchangeability is a word, but you guys get the point there. Then yeah, you're like, okay, we can do a little bit more. We can disguise a little bit more, get the offense thinking a little bit more if Jerome can do everything and Tyrell could do everything. In theory, again, this is how they're being viewed. It's not what Mike thinks. Mike thinks you should just put the best players on the field. You know, particularly if the goal is to win a championship. However, I understand there are books to be balanced. And the same thing goes to the safety room. Like, you cannot, assuming good health, which I know is not, you can't always assume, but assuming good health, Quandre, Jamal, and Julian is a better trio of safeties than Kavon, Rayshawn, and Julian. That's just like undeniable fact, you know. But again, you're talking about books being balanced and you're talking about interchangeability. You can, Kavon, Julian, and Rayshawn are loosely three versions of the same player. Like, they all are kind of like near the line of scrimmage guys who, in a pinch, you can, you know, single high them if you want, but really you're going too high them. You know, you want to put them like close to the action, you know, stuff like that. So you're thinking, all right, well, if on any given snap we can put Kavon here, or Julian here, or Rayshawn here, or switch it all up, or put Kobe Bryant there, or Jarek Reed, or what, you know, it's just, you feel like you can keep the offense guessing a little bit more if you got guys with similar skill sets and whatever. That's the sell. I mean, honestly, Chris, I say it out loud. It doesn't sound crazy, but it's not how I would design a team.
And I think that's going to
pay
be
the good players and just try to go win a championship.
I think that's going to be, we're going to find out a lot about this defense very early on in the season, because there's going to be hiccups, there's going to be mistakes, but how do they rebound from those mistakes? Who's going to step up and be the vocal leader? Not that Quandre Diggs was some vocal leader, but he did it with his play.
No, he was vocal. He was mostly behind the scenes.
Okay, but they're not putting the camera on him like, oh, there's Quandre Diggs getting in. You know, that's just not how it was portrayed. Now, Mike has been in the locker room,
except for that one time he was yelling at Jordan Brooks. Remember that?
Yeah.
I think that was against the Saints.
Yes.
Yeah. That was Taysom Hill was in that ass. So I can see why they was arguing that day.
But that's going to be the big thing. And also not to look at is when Pete Carroll, what he did with less, when they brought in guys that were, not that they did that with middle linebacker, because we saw what happened. They tried it with Cody Barton and it didn't work as well as it thought it should, although Cody got better throughout the season. Maybe we see something similar with the linebackers that are now in position to run this defense. But maybe Mike Macdonald is such a wizard that he's able to mask it and do things differently. And that's going to be really cool to see how he puts guys in position and how does it affect the defense in totality, because you can hide guys, but it's harder in the NFL because guess what? Guys on the offensive side get paid very well to do their job. So can you really hide some defects at linebacker? Can you hide a defensive lineman? Can you hide an edge guy? And maybe Mike is able to do that, and this defense is won, and it looks good, and they're making the play that they need to make. Or we find out that, going cheap didn't really benefit the Seahawks. They finished 9-8 again. So we'll find out a lot in the first month. First few weeks, we'll find out, okay, what this defense is about. Hopefully a couple of these guys that are asked about from the PUP list will be healthy come week one. But going into, speaking of Quandre Diggs, this next question comes from Carl Coleman. Quandre Diggs, is he coming back for that veteran presence, especially if the Seahawks don't bring someone in at linebacker? And then on the offensive side, will Olu succeed and hold his own at center?
We got a lot. There's a lot of questions within that. Let's start with Quandre. Yeah, because of how what we just talked about with how they view the safety room, I feel like if you view it that way, you don't have a desire to bring Quandre back. Also, nothing has changed with the safeties since they cut Quandre. Like, they cut him, they signed guys to replace him, and then those guys are still here and healthy. So there's no reason. There's nothing like these guys would have to like really stink up the joint in like camp or in training camp, or excuse me, in the preseason, and be like, oh boy, it was called Nino. But I feel like he'll probably sign with someone by then. But yeah, like guys like him, even Justin Simmons. I feel like there's a couple other veteran guys who are still good, but teams are waiting to see what their young guys have. to see what their rookies have or whatever before they call. Yeah, Stephon Gilmore is another one. You know, like teams are probably seeing what their corners have, or if their corners get hurt, like, all right, let's call Gilmore's agent. You know, safety blows his knee in camp, and it's just like, all right, let's call Justin Simmons. You know, let's call Quandre Diggs. I think Eddie Jackson just signed with someone. You know, very similar thought process. So I think he's in that situation where teams are waiting, and maybe even he's waiting to see what like the right situation looks like. You know, if certain teams are like, oh, hey, we think you can start over this guy, or we drafted this rook in the 3rd round, thought he'd be something. He stinks. We're trying to win now. What's up, Quandre? But I don't think the Seahawks would be in that position again until like if they get there and like Rayshon stink, or you know, Rayshon get hurt, Julian get hurt, Kavon get hurt. Now, hopefully none of us get hurt, but I'm just saying that's the circumstance. I don't think there's like a need in their mind to bring him back. I think it'd be fine, but I just don't see that happening. I'd be very surprised if that happened. Also, in terms of veteran presence, they got veterans. You know, I think Chenna's in like year 7. Jay Reed's got to be in what, year 9, I believe. Tyler's got to be in year 10. Big Cat is got to be, I think he's in the same draft class as Tyler, so he's probably in year 10 if I got my math right on all these. Gino's got to be in 12, 13, 12. I think it's year 12. You know, you guys know I don't like doing math on the show, but point being, they have veterans in the room. They got some old guys on the team. You don't necessarily, and you got them at multiple spots too. What's that? 2 defensive linemen, and then Chenna, Gino, Locke. I mean, even DK's in year 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. This is year 6.
Oh, I can't do that. There it is.
Yeah, this is year 6 for DK. You know, so they got guys in there who can hold it down. And I'm probably missing someone in there. I mean, that means I think Noah is probably in year 6 too. I think he's same draft class as DK. So there's not a ton of just youth and inexperience on the roster. So I don't think Quandre would be like the win one for the Gipper speech doer if they signed him. They be signing him to play. But they have other veterans who they are banking on, carrying, that load as a veteran guy. I think Julian Love's got to be in year 6 as well, I believe. I think he's the same draft class as DK as well. So they got old guys. As for Olu, I don't know. I've seen some different projections for like how people are looking at the O-line. I would guess that Olu wins the job. Olu's just really smart. I think that's a big part of playing center. I was having a talk with a O-line coach for another team at the combine, and we were just like having like some drinks, and he was talking to me. I forget how it came up. We were just talking about like protection schemes, and he was telling me all the stuff, how this works and how that works, and everything that a center has to do, which a lot of centers do all of the calls for the quarterbacks. Like there are some veteran dudes who are in charge of that stuff, but like by and large, it's usually the center. Even if your quarterback's really good, like you see the relationship between like a Jalen Hurts and a Jason Kelsey. Like Kelsey was like, he's the guy up front. It makes Jalen's job just a lot easier. So Olu, I feel like he has the smarts for it, and I feel like he has the pass blocking skills for it. Like those, I don't know about him as a run blocker quite yet, but those two traits, I feel like that's probably going to win him the job. That would be my guess. I don't necessarily know what his ceiling is, but I'm actually pretty confident. And when I look at the O-line, I'm not super high on it. I feel like we have another question about that later. But Olu, I'm like relatively optimistic about. But like Chris had mentioned earlier, I do think he's probably one of those guys who maybe if he comes out slow by like November, it's like, oh, hey, Olu's locked in. Like one of those type of situations, I think.
Staying with the offensive line, this is from Hawk Strogler. Do you guys feel like the overall depth of the offensive line has improved compared to last season?
Yeah, this is the tricky one. To be honest, Chris, can I be honest for a second? Can I be honest?
Go ahead, man.
I don't think depth matters on your O-line. I don't. Never cared about depth. And then like obviously you would like to have 8 really good linemen, sure. But that's I want just that top 5 to just be strong, man. Just be really, really, really strong. And is it deeper? Maybe. They got a bunch of rooks there we don't know a ton about. They got a Polynesian cat. They just drafted. It's been so long I haven't said his name, so I don't want to botch it. But y'all know who I'm talking about. And then they got Christian Haynes and then Mike Jarrell. So they went and drafted linemen, signed George Fant. So in reality, none of those guys can end up being starters. So like in terms of depth, I can see like where the basis of this question comes from. I'm really just worried about the top end, because the more I look at which teams are like who I deem are going to be successful, that's almost where I start, is that like how good, what's the ceiling on your O-line? Like one reason, like if I'm a Lions fan this year, I'm like, yo, we got this. Like they are rock solid up front, like Philly solid up front. Even I like the Niners O-line, the Chiefs, like this that is where I start. Obviously, you want to have a good quarterback and some skill positions, but man, you just give me like a decent quarterback or just one really good pass catcher and a rock solid O-line. I can get you to the divisional round with that. You know, that's basically what the Lions were before getting Sam Laporta. So, the depth, probably better. Depends. All those rookies could suck, so you never know. However, I'm much more concerned about the top, because let's see, Chris, do they have a lineman that you think could be a Pro Bowler this year?
Abe Lucas or Charles Cross, but Abe's not. It's up in the air for Abe, and then Charles, he's had his issues in the past game where dudes are blowing by him and he's getting bullied, so he just has to be more consistent. But those are the two guys that I would pencil in as Pro Bowlers. I would argue Abe, when healthy, he could be all pro. That's how talented Abe is, I think, because he can do both things really well. Run block, he can get out there and destroy cats, and he's great at protecting the quarterback. He is phenomenal at that. That's his best attribute, if you ask me, is pass blocking. So I would say Abe, he can do Pro Bowl, and even he can be first team All Pro. Charles Cross, I would say Pro Bowler.
So we got two out of 5. That's good though, because that's where you want to have the potential talent there. I would probably just say Abe, but we'll see with Charles. My thing with Charles is I want to see him just dominate scrubs more often on a consistent, not even just scrubs, but just guys who aren't stars. You know, like if like you're giving up sacks to like TJ Watt or Myles Garrett, or it's just like it just happens. Micah Parsons, I'm not really tripping off that. Like, I mean, ideally as a top 10 pick, yeah, you should be better than those dudes. But like those are the best, literally the best athletes on the field are guys like Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons. But like, remember last year in the Steelers game, like he got beat real bad on a sack that became a fumble, and I think it was like a rookie. It was like Nick Herberg or something like that. It was like a rookie from the Steelers. It's just like, that's what I don't want to see. That's where I'm like, nah, man. Like if Bosa gets you, remember in the Abe's rookie year, like Max Crosby got the best of him a little bit. It's like, yeah, these are them dudes. But like, if it's a dude I gotta look up after you give up the sack, then that's bad. Like if I gotta check the roster and be like, damn, who was 97 that just beat Charles? That's a problem. But if it's like, oh yeah, Michael Parsons, cool. That happens. You know what I mean? So that's what I want from Charles. Whereas I'm a lot more confident in Abe, assuming his knee is all right.
That makes sense. Spinning things back to the defense. This is from Nick Zired. Is there a reason Kobe Bryant hasn't gotten to be on the field? Is he now one of those players fighting just to make the 53-man roster?
I don't know about fighting to make it. Probably. He plays special teams though, so he's probably a little safe in that regard. But yeah, I feel like, Chris, I think we've talked about this before. I feel like Kobe Bryant has gotten dealt such a bad hand. I feel
it's just unfortunate.
I just don't like so position switches can work out, right? It can. Look at someone like Quandre, for example, was a corner, moved to nickel, and finally blossomed at safety, right? You can make all these position switches and thrive. But I feel the same way about Kobe Bryant as I feel about Marquise Blair. It's like, all right, he did a thing in college. He gets drafted. It's like, all right, Marquise, we want you to be a strong safety. Okay, then they realize, well, he's 197 pounds. That's not going to work. All right, then moving to free safety. Oh, damn, that's not working. Let's go trade for Quandre. The next season, all right, Marquise, let's try you at nickel, and then he blows his ACL, and then it just kind of goes downhill from there. Kobe, very, very similar. Plays outside corner almost exclusively at Cincinnati. Really good. Gets here, starts there, and then randomly they just, like after the scrimmage, I think it was, at Lumen, they're just like, all right, nickel. It's like, all right, plays all year at nickel. Plays okay, by the way. in the offseason, he spends time working on nickel, being stickier in coverage, gets to camp, and they're like, how you feel about safety? It's just like, see, bro, it's just, I feel like the goal should be, and I feel like we had Ray Roberts talk about this on a podcast a couple years ago with linemen. It's better, and I agree with Ray's philosophy on this. Yeah, I feel like we both do. They're doing like a jack of all trades, master of none type of thing with some of these DBs. And
when he broke that down, I was spot on. You don't want a guy that can do 3 to 4 different things. Get you a guy that can do one thing and have him excel at that one thing and be great. Period. End of sentence.
Yeah, that's what I would prefer. And it's tougher with later round picks, right? Because if they were great at a thing, they probably would have been drafted higher. That's just the reality in some cases. Kobe was a 4th or 5th round pick.
He was 4th, right?
Yeah, fourth round pick, but he was also the what's the DB award? Jim Thorpe.
Yeah, he won the Jim Thorpe Award, who was recognized as the best DB in college football, the best defensive back, the best cornerback. And then you're saying, you know what? We want you to hit more and be a safety. What?
And again, that can work. Deshaun Shedd's career was a lot longer than it probably would. People would have probably expected out of an undrafted kid from Portland State because he was versatile. He played corner, he played safety, he played nickel. Like, I'm not saying position switches are a death sentence, but they can just go really poorly. It's almost like you see, I don't know if this happens in baseball, but I know it happens in basketball when a guy goes to like a shooting coach or something like that and tries to get his form fixed. And then all of a sudden now he just can't shoot. Now it's just done, and sometimes they can fix the form, and he throws really well or shoots really well. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, he's broken now, So I just feel like Kobe just kind of got put in a bad spot, particularly getting moved to safety. It was the deepest position on the defense at the time. It was like, it's not like they had a need at safety. They had Quandre, Jamal, and Julian. Like we just talked about. They was paying like $40 million to safeties. And they just threw, and they had just drafted Jarek Reed at that time as well. So I just thought that was just an awful spot to put him in. So yeah, I think he probably is going to be one of those guys scratching for a job. And it's unfortunate because I feel like if he had just been able to just hone in on a thing, he wouldn't be in that spot. To me, who knows? But that's kind of how I feel about Kobe's situation.
No, it makes sense. You look at his height; he's 6'1", 190, so he's kind of tall to be a nickel, right? You don't usually see guys that are 6'1" at nickel. So you're saying, okay, we tried him at corner, and Trey Brown and Reek kind of won that spot. So where can we put him, especially when we take him in the 4th round? The Seahawks love the kid. They love what he brings to the team. He had, 5 forced fumbles since he's been in the league? So what?
Yeah, I think he had 4 as a rookie, yeah.
So, I mean, he makes plays, but there was just so much opportunity elsewhere, and the one way they can get him on the field was at safety, especially when Jamal Adams, he's not healthy, right? Quandre Diggs is the main guy standing strong at the safety position. Then you bring in Julian Love. So now he's kind of floating. You're trying to put him places, but there's never a right fit. And it just sucks for Kobe because he's a good corner. But I think they love Trey where Trey Brown is and where he's been going and how consistent he's been. Although there have been times where you're thinking, dang, Trey, be better in this scenario. Maybe that's where Kobe fills it in, but they just moved him around. And now he is put in a position where he's kind of stuck at safety. There's no room in the cornerback room. They just can't put him back there right now. It's too stacked.
I would put him there. I'd put him back there and let him scrap it out. That's what I would do. But I don't run the team, so
yeah, he could.
If they asked me to, I would though. But I think John likes his job, so he's not gonna give it up to me. But that's what I would do.
So you would put him back in that cornerback room?
Yeah, I just think that's where his height and his strength, I feel like, show up most there. And I think probably the genesis for moving him was like he's not super fast. I don't even think he ran really well. I think his 40 was kind of slow for a corner, which might be why he dropped. But he's got the ball skills, he's got the physicality, and he's got the size. So those things together, I would trust there. And yes, you would like your corners to be like speedsters, but sometimes, like, if you can mention hiding guys, I feel like you can hide the lack of speed if the guy has superpowers in another way. I don't know if he has superpowers per se, like a Sherm. Sherm also ran slow, but could make up for it because he had route recognition and length. And I feel like Kobe's thing is route recognition and ball skills. Kobe was really productive on the ball in Cincinnati because teams weren't trying to throw at Sauce, so they just kept throwing at Kobe. And I think he had like 45 PBUs in his career or something like that. And since just an insane number. So that's what I would do. Because, yeah, he's not super fast, but neither is Mike Jack. And Mike Jack's pretty solid.
That was going to be my next point is Mike Jack finds a way to be around the ball, although it pisses me off sometimes when he doesn't do the simple things, especially when he's in a play, which is turn his head and make a play on the football. But if they put him in that quarterback room, maybe he does excel, but it looks as if right now he's going to be a safety and he could just be the special teams guy, which is crazy because this dude was primed to be really good, I think, at corner, but he also ran a slow 40. Yeah, he ran a 4.54. So that's really
that's getting you moved. that's unfortunately getting you moved.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
4.54 is slow.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hide that too much. It's just just hard.
You're right. Yeah, that's tough. That is tough to hide. You know where you hide that at safety.
Yeah, go play safety, buddy.
I see. I can kind of see, but I just feel like he's been dealt a bad hand. Yeah.
Tell him to come work out with me. We'll run hills. I'll get him ready for speed. He can get that 4 or 5 down to a 4.4. Now we can debate and get him
another shirtless activity you did, by the way. It was running hills. Just saying.
This next one comes from @WeaponNext. How much did Derek Hall's shoulder injury contribute to his ineffectiveness as a rookie?
Yeah, so the back end of that question mentions that KJ talked him up early in training camp last year, and I want to add that part because I do blame KJ a little bit for this because I think when KJ was doing radio last year, he like picked Derek Hall as like his like defensive rookie of the year or something like that, and I just was like, in my head, I wanted to text him like, bro, based on what? But I understand. Sometimes you get in the microphone, you need a hot take. Me and Chris literally used to end the show with one every time. So I understand. Sometimes you just got to say stuff. You just do, you know. But there was no basis for that time. I was at every training camp practice. I was like, what did we seen from 58 to make us think that he's going to be like the guy? I just saw nothing to indicate that. So, yeah, I blame KJ a little bit. I think it's mentioned that Mark Schlereth talked him up too. I didn't hear what Mark said about him last year, but I did hear what KJ said. And I believe KJ had to walk that back on the radio like 2 months into the year. Like, yeah, got that wrong. To put it in perspective, though, D Hall did have a pretty underwhelming rookie year, though. For such a high pick, I think he's like picked like 40 something too. So it's pretty. You expect a lot from a top 50 pick. So he had as many QB hits as Spoon, which is only 4.
It's not bad. Good.
He didn't have a sack, and his pressure rate was 8.3%, which ranked 21st among all rookies with at least 75 pass rush snaps. He was 1 spot ahead of the Raiders' cat Tyree Wilson, which sounds good because Tyree was a top 10 pick, but Tyree's like, they don't like him over there. Like he didn't have a good rookie year. So I hope that D Hall has like a huge jump because again, you're talking about a top 50 pick. It's not like this dude like more like Alton Robinson, was like a 5th round guy who was like flashed a little bit. So that was like encouraging, late round guy. But nah, D Hall, dude, he was a high pick, man. Honestly, the Seahawks whole edge rusher room is basically like all the same type of like prospect. They were all picked between like 37, which I think is what D Hall was, between 37 and like 48. Like Darrell Taylor was a pick in the 40s. I think Chenna was a pick in the 40s. D Hall, I think, was like pick 30 something. And then who am I missing? Oh, Boye was like pick 40 or 41 right there with Ken Walker. And they're all like the same type of guy, except for D Hall is more speed DT is more speed than the other 3. But the point is, yeah, I don't think the shoulder had much to do with it. I just think things were moving too fast. And you kind of could hear Boye talk about this last year as it pertains to his rookie season. It was like the game kind of slowed down for Boye. And I think that's what needs to happen with D Hall. Because as much as like we view these guys as edge rushers, and that some of that is like how we just talk about them. We call them edge rushers. When the thing is, they're not always just rushing. So much of that job on the early downs is reading, if I don't know, the fullback or the running back or what the tackle is doing or the tight end on a certain play, trying to stop perimeter runs and stuff like that and motions. Like there's a lot that's going on the edge there, for this project I was working on, I was doing some research on Bruce Irvin. And when they were going to move him to like outside linebacker, I want to say he told Ken Norton, don't do that, man. I'm not smart enough to play there, and Ken told him, don't let anybody hear you say you don't think you're smart enough to do something, right? That's crazy. But besides that, the point is, I say that story because the fact that Bruce even viewed that position switch as something that required intellect speaks to how difficult that can be for guys coming fresh out of college, where in college sometimes it is as simple as like, hey, you're on the edge, go get the quarterback, go get double-digit sacks, and then you'll go get drafted. In the NFL, a lot more reading, a lot more reacting, a lot more discipline required. So I think for D Hall to take a jump, it won't be about like his shoulder necessarily. I think it'll be more about the game slowing down for him the same way it slowed down for Boye in year 2.
Next one is from Chris Leeper. Which defensive player will benefit the most from Macdonald's system?
I like this one. Who do you have? Let's see if we got the same guy. I wrote mine down, but I didn't tell Chris ahead of time. So let's see who Chris.
So I have at least 3 guys that I could think of.
Oh, you gotta come on. It says which player.
Let me finish.
Pick a guy.
Stop. Let me finish.
Okay.
So when you look at Mike Macdonald's defense, when he was with the Ravens in 2023, 79% of the time they ran a lot of nickel. All right, that's 5 defensive backs on the field, and they had dogs up front, so the pass rush and being able to stop the run was excellent, which allowed them to play a lot of dime. And they, 3rd and 19, we stick with dime. This is just our money play. We're going to stick with it. We don't need to go dime because we have a linebacker that can cover some ground, and our safeties are really good, and our defensive line is really, really good. So when I look at what the Seahawks have right now, they got a really, really, really good corner, nickelback, and Spoon. All right. He was the only Seahawk player that made the ESPN's player rankings by each position, 1 through 10. They rank him. He was the only player, the only corner to make the list, only player on the Seahawks team to make it. So with that being said, I would have to go with Spoon as my number 1, just because I think what we saw him do with Pete Carroll's defense was amazing. And I mentioned last year, towards the end of the season, he reminds me a lot about Kyle Hamilton and how the Seahawks used him and putting him in different spots. Now, obviously, he's a little smaller and he can't play safety, but I don't think that's going to dissuade. Is that a word? I feel like it is.
Dissuade is the word, yeah.
Definitely. I feel it's not going to dissuade Coach Mike Macdonald from putting him in a spot where he's at safety, but then he drops down maybe into a nickelback spot and he's guarding the tight end, or he's checking the running back, or however this defense, or however they want to shell it. All right. So I would vote number 1 is my guy, Spoon. And that's kind of a cop-out answer. The second one, because maybe Mike has Spoon as his guy as well, would be Julian Love, because now he's being asked to do a lot more. And I think in this defense, he can get it down. He has some experience doing it. I think he's probably going to play Quandra's old spot. That'll be his main role. Although he can get in the run game and thump, he wasn't as consistent enough. I saw a lot of times he would get in there and bounce off running backs. So I think putting him at the free safety really allows him to roam everything and make plays when need be, and still be a vital factor when it comes to the run game and stuffing those holes. So I'm going to go Spoon number 1 and Julian Love as my second guy.
So you did pick multiple people.
Well, I picked one guy. Okay.
Pick one. Spoon or Julian? Which one?
I'll go Julian. I'll go Julian Love.
There we go. My guy is neither. My guy is Leo, or Big Cat, Leonard Williams. I do think moving him around, the same logic that you have is for, I see Leonard being the bigger beneficiary, because I do think he is one of those guys. How can I put it this way? He's not one of those guys who, if the other guys are bad around him or like mediocre, he's not going to probably like just dominate like Max Crosby, for example. Like the Raiders can kind of put me, you, and our significant others up front, and Max Crosby is still going to get 13 sacks because he's just so good and he never comes off the field. He just doesn't need the other pieces around him to be worth a damn, and he's still just going to dominate. Whereas I don't think Leonard is that type of guy. To be very clear, very few defensive tackles are. But Aaron Donald was kind of in that same boat too. It doesn't really matter who the Rams put around him. Aaron was just such a force that it was like he'll beat a triple team and go get to the quarterback. Whereas some guys are more like, if they're on a more talented joint up front and they can get more one-on-ones, kind of a rising tide lift all boats type of situation, where if the other guys around him are good, it can help him be better, because he's one of those dudes, if all the attention's on him because he's the best dude up front, or even the second best guy up front, like he was in New York next to Dexter Lawrence, it just not going to pop the same. And I say that to say I actually think their front is really – I actually have a lot of faith in their defensive tackle situation. assuming they don't move Draymond Jones. I actually really like him at defensive tackle. Seeing him do all this edge rush stuff, really concerned, unless he dropped a bunch of weight. Because I think he played at like 282, 285 last year. That is not outside linebacker weight. That is not. I don't care how many drops you do in the summer to get ready for it. That's just unrealistic, I think, to just ask somebody to be dropping into coverage as the Sam backer or whatever at 285. If we got 265, perhaps. But even then, I would need him to keep his strength. But anyway, I say that to say with Leo, Jay Reed, Byron Murphy, and Draymond, I'm really high on that as a foursome up front. I think that will help Leonard get a lot more opportunities to be one-on-one with some slow, heavy-footed guards that he can just beat and maybe be a double-digit sack guy. Very similar. So how you compared Spoon to Kyle Hamilton, my comparison would be Leonard to Matabuke, who had, 12 or 13 sacks last year, breakout year for him, got paid. So, yeah, the same logic basically that you're using with Spoon, I'm kind of using with Leonard, with the exception of I'm also adding the fact that the talent around him will help. He's just not one of them dudes who's like, oh, dang, Leonard's the only guy. He's still going to ball. It's like, well, nah. Now the D-line's like, hey, you got to pay attention to Leonard, but you also got to pay attention to Jay Reed. You also got to pay attention, you would hope, to Byron Murphy. You also got to pay attention to Draymond. And then Chenna. So I feel like Leonard's going to benefit, maybe not even just from the scheme necessarily, but just being around just good players.
Paul Martin, Katy, Texas. We were in your city, man. I feel like Vaughn and them, the other homies, went to Katy, Texas when we went somewhere else. They went to go do a little adventure. Did they go to Katy, Texas? Do you remember, Mike?
Yeah, the Top Golf we went to was in Katy. That's what you're thinking of.
Bingo. Okay. So yeah, we had some friends down there, Paul, enjoying their time at Top Golf. He wants to know, are the Seahawks better right now than they were last season?
Yeah, I don't think, just like I talked about with the linebackers, I just don't think, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what Chris has to say. But I just don't think in good faith you can say that the Seahawks are better right now. They're more talented. I just don't see that world right now. Like if you just go down roster for, player for player, I don't think their linebackers are more talented. I don't think the safeties are more talented than the ones that they had last year. Like, I guess if we assume everyone healthy, right? So that means you have Jamal, you have Quandre, you have Julian, you have JB, you have Bobby. I just don't see them as more talented. I don't necessarily know if the O-line is more talented. They switch some names around. You switch D-Lou for Laken Tomlinson. You switch Evan Brown for Olu. You switch Bradford for McClendon Curtis or Christian Haynes or something like. It's just you're switching names, but I'm not really sure you can definitively say it's better. I think at best it's probably a push. That's what I can say definitively. And I feel like whether everyone agrees or not, we can probably come to some level of agreement that a lot of what the Seahawks are hoping takes them over the edge is not more talent than last year. It's better coaching. I feel like that is the thing that they're banking on, perhaps more than like, oh, our roster is way better than last year. I don't even think John Snyder, you get 3 beers in John Snyder, I bet you he tells you that the roster is probably about his same talented level. I don't know if he'd say that publicly, but I feel pretty confident in that just because he's got eyes like the rest of us. I feel like coaching is what they're banking on being much better. And that's fair. They fired all the coaches. So I'm not like breaking any news here, but I do think that is the bigger variable than talent, if you're just kind of compared to last year, because you got a lot of new coaches, man. And Chris, I've been thinking about this. Me and you have talked about this a little bit, but they got a lot of coaches who just ain't done the job that they have currently at this level. That is asking a lot. Not to say they can't do it, but got a head coach, never been a head coach. You got OC, never been an OC in the NFL, never even coached in the NFL at any point in his life. You got a DC who's never been a DC in the NFL, and then and then the special teams coordinator straight from college as well. So you just gotta, and not to mention all the position guys who are probably doing their job at this, for the first time at this capacity. So that's just a lot of newness, and on top of that, these dudes don't know each other. None of these guys know each other. It's not like Mike Macdonald went through his call log and was like, oh, yeah, this is my man from college. This is my man from when we worked in New York. This is my man. I was at his wedding. You know, he didn't do that. He was just like, who's good at their job, who's highly recommended, which kudos to him for a meritocracy, I guess. But who knows if that actually is better than like Dan Quinn got the job at the Commanders and just called everybody he knew. Like, hey, I know you. You want to come work for me? And he was like, yeah, pull up. You know, so we'll see. But I don't think talent is what they're really banking on. Like last year was a talented roster. You know, one of the first things John Snyder said at his press conference when after Pete kind of walked off, when John talked the next week, one of the first things he said was we overachieved in 2022, and we underachieved in 2023. I would agree with both of those statements, you know, because the talent suggested that was a playoff team last year. I think the talent suggests that it's borderline playoff team right now. Then if you factor in coaching, you're like, oh, okay, we're going to be better. But yeah, I don't think the roster is just worlds better. Even if you factor in just some guys individually getting better, I just like Jackson, I think in particular, like if you factor in a better Jackson, a better Reek, I still think you're probably looking at like probably a push, you know, because last year's roster had talent, you know, a couple injuries here and there, and it was just kind of cooked.
And that was another thing I was going to bring up with injuries. You lose Jamal. He was never even healthy to begin with, but he wanted to play so bad. He wanted to play so bad that he was willing to risk it all. And you saw it on tape. He just wasn't what he used to be. That injury really took a lot from him. And how much coaching can they do with a guy that's not 100%? You can put him on the field. Obviously, they're paying him X amount of dollars. They're probably not going to bench him. That's a tough conversation to have. Hey, man, you're not getting the job done. We're going to have to bench you. Oh, hell no. You're not benching me. I'm going to go out there and fight. And then the fight's not good enough. And I think that was something that the team, through multiple positions, struggled with. Okay, well, you're older and you're not getting the job done. What can we do? Well, you're not going to bench me. So in this scenario, they go younger, new coaching. If the coaching is excellent and the players are okay, could that get you 10 to 11 wins? With Geno, it really could. Geno could probably get you 9 wins right then and there. That'll work. That's a possibility. But you need a little bit of luck. You need guys to stay healthy. You need your boy Abe Lucas. There's got to be answers. He's got to be 100% good to go. And Pete mentioned last year, he has a knee thing that's been lingering. When you hear the word lingering, you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? It hasn't gone away. So it could pop back up at any moment. And that's something that has happened. And the offensive line is still, so how much coaching can they really do to put this team where they are fighting for the number 1 spot? Because right now on paper, I would say the Seahawks are looking at 3rd in the NFC West. I still have the Niners ahead of them. And I would say the Rams are better than them, even though last year, I remember on this podcast, Mike was like, bruh, you're taking the Rams to cover against the Seahawks? Bro, who they got? What's on the offensive line? And I was like, I honestly don't know, but they got Aaron Donald. And to surprise, their offensive line whooped Seattle's defensive line the entire game. Puka Nacua became a legend in Seattle.
That was the variable. Yeah, like Puka turned into OBJ. You know, a 5th round pick out of BYU or whatever. Just, you know, it was Odell freaking Beckham last year. Like that, if I'd have known that, you know, been higher on the Rams.
No, you're good. So I say all that to say that, yeah, they got younger, but or not younger. They did get younger in this scenario. But how much coaching can they really drill into these guys where they are better than they were last year? To your point, Mike, that's going to be the big question for me. Is okay, coaching. Let's see what you guys got, because as you mentioned a couple of times in this pod, Mike, the why fire Pete Carroll? If y'all about to be 9-8 again, what was the point of getting rid of Pete? You could just kept Pete and got 9-8 again and got a different group of guys in. Obviously, Pete probably would have really begged to keep Jamal because he wasn't healthy. That fight would have been, hey, Jamal wasn't even healthy, but he was willing to go out there and try it anyway. It just didn't work out. Now Jamal's healthy. He's playing for the Titans. We will see, because at training camp, the Seahawks joint practice, you get to see Jamal. That should be entertaining. Bobby Wagner. I'm sure Pete would probably have begged to keep Bobby for one more year because Bobby wasn't terrible. There are obviously times you can look at it and say, damn, Bobby, they're attacking you. What can you do? I think Pete would have probably brought him back as well. So I'm really excited to see just how the coaching attacks this new team. How are they going to react when things are not going their way? It's going to be, I don't know if they're a better team right now. It's tough for me to say they are, but I think they're close. I think they are close, and especially, I don't think their defense can get any worse. They were the worst run defense last year. I don't see that being a problem again. I think they really added pieces to make this run defense better. Byron Murphy, I think, is going to help tremendously. You mentioned Leonard Williams and his strength and what Mike Macdonald likes to do with his defense. I think those two guys, I know Byron's probably not going to start, but he's definitely going to be in the game. He's definitely going to get his share of opportunities. He's going to be playing a lot of snaps with the Seahawks. So it'll be fun to see. And this is from Brett Tuft. Feels like the vibes are as high as they've ever been since 2017. Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think, well, for one, I don't think the vibes are that high in 2017. At least not internally. It felt like, how do I want to say this? It felt like after the Sheldon trade, it was like, yeah, okay, we got, we're in a good spot. But realistically, internally, there was a lot of issues there. Maybe this is reference to the fans, maybe in terms of the vibes, because yeah, you get a new coaching staff, whatever. But yeah, internally there was a lot going on. Remember, they had tried to trade Sherm at that time, and then there was that ESPN article talking about how basically he just can't get over the Super Bowl and hates Russ. They lost. There was a lot of people who were very confident that the Seahawks did not have a good O-line and didn't have a left tackle at the time, and that was before George tore his ACL in the preseason. It was just like, yeah, Seahawks O-line's going to stick. And the left tackle blew his knee out in the preseason. And then Reese Odiombo comes in, and it was just bad. Yeah, I think Cam wanted to get paid at that time. Then he got paid. And then Earl was over there like, oh, are we paying safeties now? All right, then. What up? And it was like, nah, fam. And that's why Earl went into the Cowboys locker room and did his thing. So internally, it wasn't like super, super great. I do feel like, in terms of internally and externally, I think the 2020 team is perhaps a better comp, like going into that. And going into that year, remember, it was pretty high on, like they had just made a divisional round. They traded for Jamal. That was like bringing back some good vibes. So at the time, the secondary was, I think, going to be like Quentin Dunbar, Shaquille Griffin, Quandre, and Jamal, I believe. Because they were going to replace Trey Flowers, that was something everyone was high on because Trey had a really bad Green Bay game in the playoffs. They were going to replace Ugo, who also had a really bad game, replace him with Marquise Blair. They had made some moves up front on the O-line. I think like got Brandon Shell and maybe like one other guy. Like there was, I think maybe even got Gabe Jackson that year, or maybe that was the next year. But either way, that team, I just remember that the vibes with that team being pretty strong. It was just, people may not remember it that way because there was also just so much else going on. COVID year, that was an election year, which was a very controversial election, George Floyd. So like there was just a lot of stuff going on at that time. No fans in the building. Stuff. It was everything. We're all getting Q-tips shoved up our noses and stuff. Very, very tough time. But you just think about the team itself, vibes are pretty high there. I just feel like this team, I wouldn't even call it necessarily like great vibes as much as more it's like a honeymoon phase. You ever been in like a bad relationship and then, not even a bad one, just one that just like you knew had to end. Either whether it's a partner or maybe you just had like a job that you were just like, I just need to get a new job. You get to the new spot and, like for the first month or so, you're like, oh, this job lit. The break room's cleaner. There's good food spots nearby for my lunch break. We get paid weekly here versus bi-weekly or whatever. You just find all these things that are just nicer about your new job. And then like a year in, you're just like, I got complaints about this job too. There's no parking. This my supervisor's a jerk. You just find all these things because you realize there's no perfect job. I kind of feel like this is that honeymoon phase right now where everything's just new. Everything's fun. You haven't had to, nothing's gone wrong yet. It's just good vibes. Everyone's 0-0. Everyone's healthy, quote unquote. Like you just feel good. Everyone's in the best shape of their lives. All those training camp quotes we're going to get, Chris. Everyone got bigger, stronger, and faster in the offseason. It's just all the optimism is here right now. I just feel like that's just what comes with overhauling the coaching staff. It's funny. Before we go on to the next question, I was listening to Tyler Lockett did a radio interview probably last month, and he was talking about Ryan Grubb. And I kid you guys not, I could probably go back and find audio or the transcripts and we could really do a funny comparison. But what Tyler said about Grubb is almost like a carbon copy of what he said about Shoddy when Shoddy got hired, and what he said about Shane when Shane got hired. Like, you can tell, like, Tyler just pretty much looking for the same thing when he gets an OC. It's about how smart they are. I think he's the one who called Shane a wizard, I think, when he got hired.
He said
it was him, right? He called him a wizard or something like that.
I think so, but I know he said that, to your point, Ryan Grubb is one of the smartest guys alive. Or he compared it to a high school teacher, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I forgot his exact phrasing, but you might remember it. But I do remember that quote that you're talking about for sure.
Yeah, and then he said something about Shoddy's offense being like intellectual or something like that. Or maybe I'm flipping the Shane and Shoddy comments. But either way, it's just kind of funny. Like, it speaks to the honeymoon aspect of it. It's just like how you can tell in how Tyler is speaking about Grubb. It's like, well, it's the same thing he said about these other guys who have since got fired. So everything just sounds, my point is everything sounds hunky-dory right now, which I believe that's the first time we ever had hunky-dory said on the show. That's cool. That's the first in 2024. So yeah, I think the vibes, you can say the vibes are good. That's fine. I just really feel like this is the honeymoon phase. And once something goes wrong, whatever the thing is, big injury, big training camp fight, lose a game, whatever, that's when we'll really see how strong things are. So I think it could be good. I also think that's going to be a really good, important test for the coaching staff as well. Like, how do you handle just something going, wrong? Maybe y'all are in there arguing. How do you figure that out? Whatever. A guy wants to play this player. Mike Macdonald says, nah. How do y'all handle that type of depth chart beef? Whatever. So I think that's really going to test it. But yeah, right now I just think everything's cool because, everything's new. This is the new job, new workplace. They done fixed the vending machine. They done got new chairs in the conference room. Everything's just good at the job right now.
Axel MTG. The Seahawks defense had amazing talent, but as we mentioned, Mike, they struggled last season. I am missing what caused it to fall apart. Was it effort, scheme, holding in poor position? What happened?
That could be its own pod, really. But I think generally, I feel like the offense and defense had the same issue, and it was coaching is too broad. I really just think if we're just excusing injuries from part of it, because like losing Chenna sucked. That was pretty big. Losing Abe, not having Abe for so long. There's two of their better players at their respective position groups, but I really think it was situational ball. I think both sides of the ball were getting outcoached situationally, like pretty consistently as well. And you could just see it, on the field. Like, it just looked like they were never – the Ravens game is just the perfect example. I can see why John was like, let's hire that guy, because look how much more prepared the Ravens seemed for third downs and red zone than the Seahawks seemed. Like, the Ravens on third down just felt like they had the Seahawks playbook. They were just on it. Like, the Ravens defense, they had the Seahawks offensive playbook. Like, the Seahawks, I think, went like 1 of 9 or something on third down, which is abysmal, which is awful. And it really was. It looked like everything that the Seahawks had drawn up, the Ravens had answers for. That wasn't the case every snap. Like, I think one of them, Jackson just drops a ball. That has nothing to do with the Ravens scheme. But for the most part, it just looked like they were so ready for whatever the Seahawks had, And then in terms of the Seahawks defense with the Ravens offense, same thing. I don't know what the Ravens did on third down offensively that game, but I know they scored a bazillion points. So it wasn't great. I feel like that was happening in much to a lesser degree, damn near every week. It was just really, really tough to overcome their red zone defense, their red zone offense, their third down offense, their third down defense. I think all of these things were like 23rd in the league or lower. They were really bad situationally. It's just, you just can't win like that. And I feel like a lot of that does come down to just coaching, but in particular, preparation. Third down, I really feel like is where coaches get busy, like scheme stuff, really out coaching the other team. Because your base stuff on first and second down, man, everyone's running a variation of the same stuff, depending on what tree you're from or who you used to work under. Your early down stuff is like kind of what it is. It doesn't change that much week to week. But on third down, I feel like is where you can get creative. Red zone as well. I feel like the Seahawks were getting just out-coached in those situations. And some of that out-coaching, I think, comes down to just, making sure guys are just all on the same page. There'd be a lot of players. I feel like in the Cowboys game in particular on defense, it just looked like I was thinking, like, did y'all practice? Like what's up? That was on a short week, so maybe the answer is no. But, like, I just feel like it just didn't feel prepared, in my mind. So I think that was the biggest issue on both sides of the ball. I feel like we talked about, coaching is going to be the thing they're counting on to take them over the hump. And who it could, I'm like pleasantly optimistic about Grubb. Kind of on Mike Macdonald. I just wonder how much time he's going to really have to cook up with he's also just running the whole operation. I just feel like that's a lot of responsibility. He can't just be in his office dialing up blitzes. You know what I mean? Like, nah, bro, you got press conferences, got to go kiss some babies. You got to go fundraise. Like, he's like running for office damn near when you're the face of a team, as opposed to just like, hey, bro, get busy on third down, cook some stuff up. So, yeah, I think that was the biggest issue. Situational football, they were just not prepared on either side of the ball. At least not prepared enough. They were just getting whooped.
Chris Hamilton, it seems as if most of the national media are down on the Seahawks roster. That being said, do you think the Seahawks are overrated, underrated, or properly rated?
This is a good question. I do feel like I would say I haven't seen a ton of like power rankings and stuff. I did see what Chris alluded to earlier, how ESPN polled 80 executives, scouts, and coaches and got the top 10 players at each spot. And the Seahawks, not only did they only have one player who was even top 10 at their spot, which again, like Chris said, was Spoon at number 9 among corners, they only had like 2 guys who were even honorable mention, and that was Charles and
DK.
Kano.
Yep.
No, DK didn't make honorable mention. He was like in like the receiving votes thing at the very bottom.
He got a vote. Yeah. My apologies. Yep.
Yeah, and some guys got votes. I think Leonard got votes. I think Noah got votes. But just to even make the actual honorable mention or the top 10 was only Charles, K9, and then Spoon. I think Reek even might have got votes. I'd have to go back and check that. Leonard got votes, but the point is that's an example of how they're being rated. And again, I haven't seen a ton of power rankings. I've seen some stuff on like NFL Network. I would say probably properly rated. I feel like when most people at a national level, like when I hear some podcast clips or whatever, I kind of see them having just questions. I feel like most people on the national level just talk about like the offense and how good the skill positions are. They kind of like talk about Geno a little bit, and they're just like really excited about what Mike Macdonald can do because the Ravens are so damn good. So I'd probably say it's about proper because in general, I feel like that's kind of where the fans are too. I know the fans of each team get deeper into the minutia of their particular team, but just on a general like fans, like when people see me out, I know Chris deals with this too. Like when people see us out, they usually ask us about Mike Macdonald, talk about Geno, and they talk about the offense. Generally, it's like, yo, we're gonna, Jackson, DK, whatever, stuff like that. Very rarely are people like out and they ask me about like who's gonna start at right guard. It's usually Mike Macdonald questions and things like that. So I would say probably properly rated. I think, and yeah, Chris and I have talked about this. I think the general consensus nationally, they're a little higher on the Seahawks than like I am. I feel like some people are like assuming that new coaching staff equals better coaching staff. And I can see how you make that jump. I just know that's just not how it works. You can easily get new dudes in there and they stink. That can happen. You can get new guys in there and they're not John Gruden. Who was just the coach of the Raiders that sucked? It was
my God.
Josh McDaniels. Yeah.
That's what it was.
You can get guys in there and they're Josh McDaniels and his staff. I don't know if y'all been watching receiver, but boy, Devontae Adams was fed up with them boys, or you can get a new coaching staff and it's like Dan Campbell and the Lions. It can really go either way really fast. So, and I'm kind of like one of those people who knows it can go either way. I just don't assume that you hire some new dudes and they automatically better than the old dudes. I've seen way too many teams churn over coaches and they just suck, till they churn them over till you get it right. So, yeah, I would say probably properly rated, Chris, I don't know. I know you guys have had some national people on the radio. I don't know if they've been higher on the Seahawks, but I feel like people kind of got it about right.
I think it's fair. Yeah, we haven't even really talked to that many national people because it's just OTAs and they really didn't see much. So it's kind of your opinion based on you haven't seen much, but on paper, this is what they think the team would be. And yeah, they have it. I think to your point, I think they have it accurate of where the Seahawks should be. They're not putting them too high, not putting them too low. They'll be an okay football team. And I think that's how it should be, especially as you mentioned, new coaching staff. I wonder what's harder, having the new players or new coaching staff. But it seems as if having the new players might be easier because good coaching is just going to figure it out. You look at what the Chiefs have done. they could. I know Mike loves throwing ourselves in these scenarios. Coach Reed can get us on the team, and I'll probably catch 2 touchdowns, and one might be for the Super Bowl. He's just going to put me in position. They're just going to put me in position to execute and do things that I'm really good at. That's what they're great at doing. Xavier Worthy probably going to have a pretty damn good rookie season. You know why? Because Coach Andy Reid's going to just put him in position to make plays, and he has a guy that can do it in Patrick Mahomes. They have the offensive line that can protect him. So anything that they want to do, they can kind of go out and do because they have all these intangibles that puts them in position to go out and execute and do those things. Now, obviously, if guys are dropping passes, not much you can do about that. Coaching can be great. You got dudes that have hands like feet. It's not going to matter. So in this scenario, it's really going to come down to, again, this coaching staff and what they get out of these players. And when things are going bad, how do they respond? How does this team react to when, oh man, they're 0-2. They lost to 2 teams that they should have beat. Okay, how do they respond? Oh, they beat the Dolphins. That's a great start. Okay, 1-2, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I'm going to look forward to in that regard regarding this entire, is this team going to be overrated, underrated, or properly rated? And I think right now they've been properly rated pretty well.
One more thing on that before we go to the next one. I think this spins into the question too someone had from YouTube, but I think the other thing they're going to follow up with that is they have to deal with also success too. That also tests relationships. Like, what if they start 4-0? Do some guys start smelling themselves? Do we start worrying about who gets the credit? Like, all of these things do happen internally. I think Tyler had a pretty explosive comment about that in a post game, talking about how on this, like, guys don't worry about who gets the credit or something like that. And I think people interpreted that as a dig at like Russ. I think
I remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember what game or what. Did we? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I don't remember
we did.
What the question was or what game that was said, but I feel like you guys remember that.
I think the question really had nothing to do with anything that we're talking about, right? Wasn't it just
I don't think it did. Yeah, it was very strange.
Yeah.
But anyway, I bring that up to say that dealing with success too, on top of like, it could be an 0-2 start or 2-0 start. Like, you got to deal with success. That tests relationships as well, not even just dealing with when stuff goes wrong.
Bingo. Well, yeah, you brought up the YouTube, so appreciate all the listeners and watchers of our Seahawks Man to Man channel on YouTube, because Lil Smooch 6008, I know, great name. What's the absolute best case scenario for this team? So in other words, Mike, what's the absolute worst? In other words, floor and ceiling for this Seahawks team this year.
So I think, I'm willing to go on record. I think the floor is really low. I think the floor could be like, again, I think it could be like Josh McDaniels Raiders bad. Because new does not equal better. We see it so much. Like, if new coaches just meant better, the Jets and the Giants would not be awful for as long as they've been awful. You know what I mean? Like, or the Browns. The Browns used to just churn coaching staffs, right? Getting a new coach in there, a new staff, does not guarantee a damn thing. It just guarantees newness. It does not guarantee improvement. So I think the floor is like as bad as it's ever been. Like, the floor could be, with a couple injuries to the wrong spots, it could get bad. Now, you could say that for a few teams, but I think like a couple injuries to the wrong players, and you're looking at like 4-13. I really do think that. But you get some health going the right way, and the best case scenario, Chris, the best case scenario looks like this. The O-line is average, which means if the O-line is average, with those skill position guys, you're looking at like the top 7 offense. So you get a top 7 offense. And then you get assuming good health, you get an average defense. So like, you get a top 7 offense, average defense. And I think that gets you, then I think you're like the Rams of last year. That sounds about right. I feel like who were they? I don't know what the Rams were last year, but I feel like their week 18 game didn't even matter. I feel like that's how good the Rams were, which I feel like is where you want to be, where your last game is not hinging on whether you make the playoffs. But by week 18, they were just chilling. So that's kind of, I think, best case scenario. And if we want to get more specific, I think the best case is that, remember I mentioned that situationally they were bad in like all 4 categories, quote unquote: red zone defense, red zone offense, third down defense. So you take all 4 of those categories. Let's say they are average at all 4, like 15th through 17th rankings across the board in those 4. That's such a dramatic improvement. Like, I think on third down, they were like the worst team that's not the Eagles. Like they were really, really bad. I think the Seahawks had the fewest offensive plays last year and the most defensive plays. That is the worst possible thing to have. That's terrible, terrible, terrible. I think even someone posted the people who have played the most snaps on defense in the last like couple years. I think Quandre was like number 1, and like Bobby might have been like 3rd. And Quandre, I think, quote tweeted, he was like, "Man, that's what's up, but damn, like, that's not good. Quandre should not be leading the league in snaps, and Bobby should not be leading the league in snaps either, or like leading the league in tackles. It's not good. I mean, leading the league in tackles is not bad, but you guys get the point. You out there a lot. So I think the best case scenario is like a top 7 offense, average defense, and then you're basically like the Rams, because I do think the best case of scenario is not like a top 5 offense, because I feel like there's some offenses who I feel like can be definitively better. The Chiefs, I feel like can be definitively better. Help me out here. Niners, I feel like can be definitively better. The Lions might end up having the best offense in the league. Let's see, what's that? Is that 3, 4? Did I say Miami? Like Miami could be, could be definitively better. So I feel like those ones those teams you're not jumping, but I feel like they could be right there with the Rams potentially. Who else? Packers could be another team. Cowboys, Eagles also could have a top 5 offense. Their O-line's really good as well. So yeah, I think top 7, top 8, I feel like is like best case scenario. I do think that's possible. I think what's going to help the Seahawks coming out of the gate is the element of surprise. Assuming the veterans don't play much in the preseason, those first couple teams are just going to have nothing to go on. Grubb has you can watch Huskies tape, but that's college. It's going to be so hard to translate. And I feel like those first couple teams they play have a bunch of newness themselves, right? Don't they play the Broncos, whose roster's pretty butt? And then the Patriots have a whole new staff. I think that's game 2. Yep. So, coming out of the gate, I think they can benefit from just teams just not having much on them. And then I feel like October and November is really what we'll find out about their identity, so to speak. So I think that's the best case. And then, worst case is just like Gino get hurt, DK get hurt or something, and then you're just screwed. Abe's knee is mush, and then that's why just the bottom falls out. Coaches, just the newness of all the coaches ends up showing up. Like there's definitely a thing where the bottom just falls out of this. But I also think like best cases, again, the Rams. The Rams were like a really good team with like a really good offense. Defense was kind of just like patched together. It was like Aaron Donald and a bunch of random guys, and they were fine until the playoffs. They were like a decently good, scrappy wild card, maybe make the division round team. I feel like that's about right.
This next one is from _Don Chu. Are Schneider and Macdonald standing pat with the guys they got, or is it reasonable to expect they try to make legitimate moves at inside linebacker, offensive tackle, or elsewhere?
Definitely not tackle. I feel like tackle, there's an argument that if Abe's fine, they can feel good about at least the guys they got. Stone. Who else? This is why you signed George Fant. He's like Abe Lucas insurance. That's really good Abe Lucas insurance, by the way. It's George Fant. Like I feel really good about that. You draft a tackle. You draft another lineman who could play tackle. Again, I forget the Polynesian brother's name, but I'm not going to try to botch that. So yeah, I feel like you can feel good about that. Again, they're not going to make all these changes until they get to training camp. And if guys just suck, that's when you start making phone calls. Preseason games, like, yo, this dude is awful. Let's call some guys up. That's when you do that. Nothing's happened over the summer where I would think, unless these injuries are super bad, but like I think Jerome broke his wrist, I think is what it is, or fractured something. Yeah, broken bone, it'll be fine. I don't know what's wrong with Tyrell Dodson. That could be bad. I legit have no idea what's wrong with him. It doesn't seem like anybody else knows either, so it's not like I'm behind the 8 ball on that. But like broken wrist, yeah, dude be all right. Shoot, we can play with a broken wrist if you really want, throw a club on there, you'd be all right. So yeah, I just don't think the front office like panicking with their roster right now, unless someone's injury is worse than we think. But until that happens, I think the front office is going to wait till some games get played, some pads come on. Then you could be like, all right, this dude stinks. Let's call somebody else.
All right. Ryan Turner at Turns 44 drops in. It's been a real slow news summer, so there's a lot of positional rankings that have shown up this summer with very little mention of any Seahawks, as we talked about before. Who at the end of the season, 2024-25 season, could find their way into a spot? Also, congrats on marriage. Keep killing it.
Appreciate that. Let's see who could. I think me and Chris are both in agreement. The best version of DK is a top 10 receiver. Like the best version of him is for sure a top 10 guy. Like I feel pretty confident about that. Will we get the best version of him? Who knows? That's up to DK. But I mean, it's also up to Gino. But the best version of him is a top 10 guy. I think the best version of Noah Fant is a top 10 tight end. Even if that means just like being ninth, it's still a top 10. So I think both of those guys, and I'm in agreement with Chris on Abe Lucas as well. I think the best version of Abe is a top 10 right tackle. You start factoring in the other tackles, I think that can get a little tricky because then you got guys like Trent, Laramie. I'm missing somebody really important. I'm be mad that I forgot about, but you guys get the point. Like left tackle, I feel like has some dudes. That is just going to be tough for Abe to be in with all the tackles. But if you just talk about guys on the right, yeah, I feel like Abe is like a top 10 guy, the best version of him. Everybody else, I'm not sure. Am I missing anybody? You think that like the best version of them is a top 10?
Ken Walker.
Oh, yeah. Who were the top 10 running backs? How Ken not make it? Are the 10 running backs way better than Ken?
I when you looked at the list, it made sense. I mean, you could have easily, I think Aaron Jones made number 9 or something, and that's an argument. You could argue that Ken's better.
Aaron Jones has been really productive, though. I can see how.
Yeah, so I didn't see it as a slight. All the running backs that they had in front of him, Jahmyr Gibbs, for example, he is just, you saw what he did. And they had a deep playoff run, and he was a factor in that, right?
You have the list? Let me see if I can find the list.
I do have the list.
You do? Of the 10?
Because Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb before he went down.
Give me 1 through 10 if you have it in front of you.
I do. I'm pulling it up right now. So Christian McCaffrey, that's the easy one. Number 2, it is Breece Hall. And remember, he went down with it. Yeah, Breece Hall.
Was number 2?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got the list. Yeah. Christian, Breece, Nick Chubb, Saquon,
mm-hmm.
Jonathan Taylor, Bijan, Josh Jacobs, Jahmyr, Derek, and Travis Etienne. Are you kidding me? Okay, yeah. The best version of Ken is a top 10. This could easily, this list is also very fluid. Like you could definitely see certain guys jumping in here or falling out.
Aaron Jones was on the honorable mention, so that's my apologies. He's not a top 10. So, but yeah,
I could see this changing. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, Ken, I'm not even sure I agree with this as it stands.
No, I know. As soon as I said Breece Hall, you said what? I know he didn't play a full season last year, but
yeah, no, I think I mean Breece is really good. I just don't see a considerable gap between Breece and Ken. I feel like they're very similar players. I think they were drafted like right by each other too. I like. Their explosiveness to me, their breakaway speed is like very comparable. Like I see them as very similar players. Ken's a good pass catcher as well, you know. Yeah, I don't see a huge gap between those two.
And my last one is Tariq Woolen. I think Tariq could definitely be a top 10 cornerback.
Ooh, yeah. Who were the 10 corners? That's it.
So yeah, Denzel Ward, who led everybody, and that, or was it legit? No, my bad. It was Patrick Surtain. He was number 1, followed by Denzel Ward. Mm-hmm. Then you go to Sauce Gardner, who I feel like they just, I don't know about that one. I think he could probably be 4 or 5. L'Jarius Sneed was number 4. Jalen Ramsey made the list at 5. Trent McDuffie 6.
Mm-hmm.
Jair Alexander 7. Jalen Johnson for the Chicago Bears. Shout out to Nate Tice. He did a really cool deep dive on the Chicago Bears defense, and Jalen got some love in there. He's really productive. Devon Witherspoon at 9, and Derek Stingley Jr. at 10.
Yeah, okay. I'm generally okay with that. Yeah, that's a tough one to crack because they've even looking like Charvarius Ward didn't make it. Charvarius was nails last year.
Oh, shoot, he just nailed against the Seahawks.
I mean, I think he might have led the league in PBUs or something. Like he was on it. Yeah, I think he's on it. Yeah, AJ Terrell I think is really good. I'm looking at the list now. You know what's funny about this list of corners? Yeah, I could see Reek maybe cracking it. You know what's funny about this list of corners though? Deron Bland didn't even make honorable mention.
Yeah, he was just receiving the vote.
He was first team All Pro.
Yeah,
led the league in interceptions, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
And he didn't even make honorable mention. That's got to be a first. A guy who's
because he also gave up like 300 yards. So who was it, Mike? Oh my gosh, he was just getting his ass torched.
Yeah, no, I mean the Cowboys Seahawks game is like perfect Deron Bland. Like he gave up like 3 touchdowns and a bazillion yards, but also had a pick. Yes. He had a pick in the second half. You know, he is so volatile. That is just nuts. Like he could easily get a pick 6 on any snap, or he can get burned for a touchdown on any snap. He is a volatile corner. I don't know. Trevon Diggs is the same way. And that's just, that's a tough way to play. But it's just kind of funny. He was first team all pro and not even honorable mention. The league looked at that and said, that boy is a fraud. It's like we saw that Seahawks game and they was barbecuing 26.
Yes, DK had a great day.
Yeah, DK went nuts. I mean, even Jackson had a touchdown on him. I think they ended up getting called back, but like he was just getting barbecued. He's super grabby, yeah. But then he also gets picks. He had a pick that game, so like he is just up and hot and cold. But yeah, I think the best version of Reek corner. There's a lot of corners that are good, so
yeah, it's tough.
So yeah,
but I think
the Seahawks have like fringe top 10 talent at a lot of spots. I don't know. What do you think, Gino? Maybe.
Oh, you know what? Uchenna Nwosu. Uchenna Nwosu, I think, cracked that.
I think edge rusher is deep.
It's very deep. But tough. I think his presence in the run game, I think that'll get a lot of love.
See, that's the thing. I feel you're right, but I just don't think that's valued. You're right, though. I think that he is I think Max Crosby is very similar. Max is like probably the best run defender on the edge and just doesn't get a lot of, he gets more credit for the sacks and stuff. Whereas like when I watch Max, I'm like, he does it every down. First down, second down, doesn't come off the field, and then third down, he gets a sack. Like he just has an incredible motor. I think he's like top 3 edge rushers, but I feel like he's just always listed behind Micah and Bosa and TJ and Miles, and I consider him right above some of those guys because of what he does against the run. But it doesn't get valued the same. So I think you're right about Chinna, but I just don't feel like that'll get
here. I got you. Trey Hendrickson was 9 last season.
He's really good.
Brian Burns at 10.
Also really good.
Josh Hines-Allen, Jaguars.
Hines-Allen. Oh, he did add to his name. That's right. Yeah. Josh.
And then Daniil Hunter, who, God, Lee, you would think he's 40. He's been playing forever.
He's been playing forever, and he's good every year.
Yeah, he's although last year he wasn't ranked, but I hear your point. So
yeah. I just think that's a tough position. It's just like corner. Corner is really tough to crack. So is receiver. Guys just pop out of nowhere at receiver, man. Like Puka was just Randy Moss last year. Out of nowhere.
You know what? He didn't make the top 10. He was, I think he got votes. He wasn't even an honorable mention.
Really?
Yeah.
That's tough. Puka.
But I think that's fair. Cats. They want to see more. Do it again.
I don't need to see no more. That boy was out there catching passes in the rain with no gloves.
Yeah, he built different, man. He built different.
Yeah, that's all I need to see, man. I need to, nah. Damn all those one-handed catches with the gloves in pregame. Get out there in the mud with no hands or no gloves catching like Puka was. That's real deal to me.
Yeah, he can catch. This next one is from Mookie Alexander. This is a fun one. Which of the unrestricted free agents do you think have the best chance to make the regular season roster? Also very challenging.
Oh, you mean the UDFAs, you mean?
UDFAs.
Yeah. I think I would go with, on offense, probably the running back from Boise State. I think so. I feel like he has some injury concerns, though. I think that's probably why he went undrafted. But like when you watch him, like when I was doing my rookie free agent stuff before I went on vacation, I was like, oh, this guy could. I feel like there's just room in the running back group. Like it's Ken, Zach, and then a bunch of guys we don't know much about. Even Kenny, who I like, but I mean we haven't seen Kenny McIntosh. I'm referring to. So yeah, I think George from Boise State. I forget how to pronounce his last name. Holani, maybe.
I think it is Holani. Yeah.
Yeah. I would go with him. I think he's a little older too. But again, at running back doesn't really matter because your rookie contract is where the value is. After that, as you've seen with Hard Knocks, they're talking about Saquon like he's 50. It's like, I don't know, guys. A 27-year-old running back, should we pay him? It's like 27? What? That is not old, bro. And anyway, and then on defense, I don't really feel good about anybody making it. But if there was a guy, because I feel like there always is a guy that sneaks up on us, I would probably go with the corner from Arizona State, Ro Torrance. Maybe I would go with him. I just feel like I like his size. I don't have all his measurements in front of me, but I just remember when I was looking at guys, I was like, man, if you get him right, there's something there. I don't think he tested super well either, but I think he's like 6'2" or something like that. And big guy. I still lean towards the bigger corners, even though I like a guy like Spoon. I like Trey Brown's game, but there's just something about the bigger guys to me. I'm just always going to be, me and Pete Carroll are aligned in that way. I'm just always going to be attracted to a big old corner going up against a big old receiver. I just like that.
And to your point, I also went the running back. I went with Kobe Lewis out of Florida Atlantic. He doesn't have any breakaway speed, but in that room where there's a bunch of
No, I was sorry. To people who can see on YouTube, I just looked up Ro Torrance's athletic stuff. That is why he went undrafted. There's no mystery about any of that.
Don't have to bring that up. Yeah, I think Kobe can get in that room and maybe make a few splash plays in the preseason, and maybe that allows him to make the roster. That sometimes that's all it takes. You make a few plays here and there. You're good on special teams. Teams love that, and you can find yourself a role on the roster. Also, we'll look at Jake Westover, someone that went to Washington, is familiar with Grubb. That could be just an easy one right there for you, just because Grubb knows him. Oh, yeah, I can get a spot for you. So that
picking a Husky, man. Oh.
Do you see a Coug on this list, Mike?
I'm sorry. I shouldn't throw my bias in there.
What you want me to do, man?
No. That's a good pick. I'm sorry. You're right. That's a perfectly objectively fine. He would have been my other choice than running back, because also the tight end room just don't got numbers.
That's another. That was my next point.
Noah, Pharaoh Cooper, who's the white guy they got last year, Brady Russell, guy with two first names.
Who's no, I'm thinking of someone else.
Tyler Mabry might still be around, so it's not super deep. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, he could. He's got a tight end name too. He does. You know what I mean?
No, that's why I'm laughing, because you're right. He does have a tight end name, Jack Westover. You know what position you play? Tight end. There's no question about it.
He'd either be the tight end or the fullback. Like with that, just off name. If you told me, he's like, yeah, my name's Jack Westover, I'll play football. I'll be like, yep, you're 100% the tight end. You wouldn't even I wouldn't even have to see him.
We might have a game. We'll have to talk about this off wax, because I think we can implement this somehow into our show. I like what you just said there. He has a tight end name. I have an idea for that. I'll run it by you.
Certain guys, there's just certain guys who's just like, there's no way Sauce Gardner plays anything other than corner. Like if you just say, hey, my name is Sauce. Oh, 1,000% you're a corner. There's just no possible way you're anything else.
He could be a receiver, Mike. I'm not going to lie.
Could be a receiver, but I just feel like, man, if it do walk up to you, like, oh yeah, no, my name's Sauce. Oh, okay, you're a corner. Yep.
I know you get nasty with the sauces on the field at wide receiver too, though. It's close.
My first guess would be corner. Also, one last thing I wrote Torrance. Yeah, he's 6'2", 208 with 34-inch arms. Like it just I can just see it. But he also ran a 4.6, so see why he
You're not seeing the field, buddy.
Yeah, no, I won't say that. It could
not on important downs.
Yeah, that is tough to work with. But who knows?
Special teams.
Yeah, special teams. Well, the kickoff rule, I don't know anything about that, but.
We got one from C_teacher. When will we know more about Abe Lucas? I think that answer is probably going to be fluent, but Mike, you'll have more insight on that, hopefully.
Yeah, just this week, honestly, just know more about Abe. That's pretty short.
Most interesting position battles going into camp. How many push-ups can y'all do in a row? When is the Reporters versus Basketball game? And bold pre-camp predictions about starters, offensive line, and defense in particular.
Reporters versus who? The Seahawks?
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably not gonna happen now that Bobby's not around. He'll
be back though.
That. No, yeah, I think he still lives around here. If I see him, challenge him. That sucks. I don't think that's gonna happen. Let's see. There's a lot of questions in there. We'll learn about Abe this week. Probably not gonna end up playing the Seahawks, which is unfortunate because we would beat those guys. I feel really good about it now that they've lost a few cats.
Most interesting position battles.
Particularly Drew Lock. I think Drew was going to give us buckets. Like he was going to be a problem. I think he was the guy I was really worried about. Like, yo, who's going to guard Drew? Because he's a big dude. Most interest. There was another. Oh, I don't know how many push-ups I can do. Probably, I don't know, like 50 something. Probably not. Not a ton.
I would say 85. The last time
that's a lot.
I did 70. I did 75, and then I was like, "Ooh, my arms are tired." I probably could have got to 80, so I think I can do 85.
Wow,
actually, I know I can do 85 because I do push-ups a lot anyway. So
I know you're a push-up guy. Yeah, I can probably like do 50. So 50, which I probably average. I don't know. And then most interesting position group, I would say. I don't know. I'm not sure there is like a super interesting one, but I will be watching the corners quite a bit because I do feel like that's the one where Mike, outside of safety a little bit too, but I just feel like, and I think Leslie Frazier alluded to this in an interview with NFL Network. He kind of hinted at maybe having those guys travel. Just feel like that could unlock a whole new level to the defense because I feel like they have the guys to do it. Like against the bigger dudes, you have Reek do it, and then if you play like the Rams, the Lions, the Dolphins, you have like Spoon shadow the shiftier, smaller dudes like from the slot. Man, I feel like that could just open up a whole new level. Particularly if you still have guys who can cover the number 2. Because you don't want a situation where, like, remember that Steelers game in 2015 where Sherm basically shadowed Antonio Brown, but then like Marcus Wheaton or whatever had like 200 yards.
I think it was
like,
Martavius Bryant, was it?
It was one of them two. Doesn't really matter the specifics of it, but yes, just one of them dudes went nuts. And AB had like 50 yards, which is great. But Big Ben still threw for a bunch because they didn't have the horses elsewhere. It was like, cool, you shut down AB, but like, can you guard Marcus Wheaton? Or whatever? It was either Marcus Wheaton or Martavius Bryant. It doesn't really matter for the purposes of this. But I feel like they have the horses to do that now, where it's like, okay, if you have Spoon shadow Amon-Ra, that doesn't mean that Josh Reynolds or whatever has 200 yards or whoever their number 2.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know who the number 2. It doesn't matter. But Jamison Williams, let's say Jamison Williams.
Yeah,
he doesn't kill you. He doesn't kill you for $150 because you're holding Amon-Ra to 40 yards. Because I feel like in the past that was what would be the case. Like, yeah, Sherm can lock down Devontae Adams, but then Jordy Nelson might go for, $130. Well, that just defeats the purpose. Like you might as well just play your regular defense. I don't think if they choose to shadow this year, I feel like they could have some success where it's like, all right, Reek, you got who's the number 1 receiver on the schedule? I don't have the schedule in front of me, but let's say they play.
You want to look at the Dolphins to start there, or you want to look at the first game, which is the Broncos, and it would be Mims, I think.
No, it'd probably be Sutton if they play the.
Is Sutton still on the team? Okay, my apologies.
I don't know who's on the Broncos. I just know they're.
Let's skip to week 3. We'll go Dolphins. Tyreek Hill. Boom.
You see, I would have Spoon cover him, but I feel like if you have Spoon do that, that doesn't mean Jalen Waddle goes for 200. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they're still good around him, or like the Jets. I feel like if Reek covers Garrett Wilson, I don't think that means that Mike Williams goes for $150. Whereas that I feel like that would have been the case with the Legion of Boom or whoever the number 2 is for the Jets. I don't actually know, but I feel like that's who it is.
And a bold camp prediction: starters, O-line, and defense.
If I had to make a bold one, it would be Byron Murphy starting. That would probably be my like kind of bold one, and that would be him starting over like Draymond or something. Which it obviously like, oh, Mike, his first round pick, but like, man, they gave Draymond $50 million. Yeah, benching him would be like pretty bold, particularly for a young buck too. So that'd probably be as bold as I'm. Probably. Oh, I got one more. Does it count as bold? I think, Chris, this might be the year Jackson becomes the 1B to DK's 1A.
Yeah, what? I'm drawing a blank. Oh my gosh, talk to him all the time at training camp. He does a podcast too on the Seahawks. Oh my goodness, Corbin. He was saying, I think he was with Ian Furness about a month ago. He thinks he's going to be the number 1 guy. He's going to beat out DK, and I think he said yards as well.
That sounds absurd, but I could see
it. Maybe it wasn't yards, but I think he was. I think the biggest thing was he'll have a more productive season than DK.
Yeah, that sounds ridiculous. It's ridiculous is mean. The reason I just say that though is like, and me and you have talked about this. When teams play the Seahawks and they're having the other team, they're wearing jerseys on scout team. They're wearing 14.
See, now you got me wondering if I'm misrepresenting his words. I'm trying to think back. What exactly did he say?
What he said is that we don't got to get into specifics of that necessarily, but I do think like my point, my bold one is I do think that if teams are going to like play shell coverage, I do think it's more advantageous to get the ball underneath to someone like Jax who can get yards after the catch. I feel like that's going to be really important, a more important skill set to have based on how I think teams are going to play the Seahawks. And Jackson was legitimately like a top 15 yak guy last year. I think he's only going to be better, is assuming he doesn't break his other wrist. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's why I think that he could be that. Because I understand why Tyler preserves his body and, he gets down, doesn't take a lot of hits. Like, I'm not even shading him for that. That's great. But if you're talking about who am I going to get the ball to, well, it's like, I need some yak, particularly if we're going to get a bunch of shell coverage. That's one of my bold predictions. I think that by like October, you're probably seeing the target share slide a little bit more in JSN's favor.
Okay. Last but not least, Bode Easy. Glad to have y'all back. Is Reek faster than Tyreek Hill? And this is from our YouTube, one of our YouTube watchers. So I appreciate the love on that one. So yeah, Mike, is Reek faster than Tyreek Hill?
I'm faster than both of them. If you're gonna be honest, No, it's just I'm not. It is funny though when who's the NFL Network dude that runs the 40 every year?
Rich Eisen.
Rich Eisen. When they put his they put his 40 up against, they can put all of them on the screen at once, and they put him against the pro dog. It just puts in perspective how much just slow the regular American is versus these athletes. We are so much slower than them. It is nuts. Probably Cheetah though. I think Cheetah's like the fastest dude for my money of the guys we know. Like the Xavier Worthy cat might be the fastest dude in the league. I just watched his 40 again. Jesus Christ. Oh, he was moving. Oh my God. But yeah, I would just love to see these dudes race again. They used to have that at like the Pro Bowl and stuff, like guys race. I would love.
I don't know why they stopped it.
I mean, I think a lot of that is just pride. I think guys are just afraid to fail. They just don't like. That's why they don't.
Worse, being in the Pro Bowl because you didn't make the Super Bowl and losing a race, or not even being in the Super Bowl and your pride's hurt there. Like I feel like that's cheesy as hell.
Well, the fear of failure is pretty prominent just among people in general, but I just think that's why guys just afraid to fail. I think that's the coolest part about what DK did when he ran, because he could have got dead last. I think he actually might have did get last, but
yeah, he did. But the fact is, he went out there and proved that with a little bit of training, he could be a really elite track star.
Well, even if he didn't prove that, the thing that was most impressive to me is that he was willing to get last. Like not everyone's willing to just get last on national TV. That's just tough. Everyone's not ready for that. I don't even know if I'm ready for that. Just get last, especially with something as basic as running. No one needs to know much to know, like, oh damn, you got smoke. You can see the people in front of you. Like there's no intelligence required to be like, well, those guys got there before you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a really easy sport to interpret. You know what I'm saying? It's not like sucking at like shot put. You know what I mean? Or the discus. Everybody can just see if people ran faster than you. It's really, I think that plays into it. But that was the most important thing. The coolest thing about that for DK for me was that he just was willing to go out there. It's like, if I get last, I get last. I'm not afraid of that. Guys are afraid of that. Guys are definitely afraid to get last and lose. So I think that's why they won't bring it back. You just won't get enough dudes who's ready to get dusted.
That's crazy because they talk about this all the time on Twitter. You could type in Tyreek Hill, his @name, and the word race, and I guarantee there's at least 3 to 4 players that he's like, oh, what's up? I think DK might have been one of them, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I just think there's not enough guys who want the smoke, because you got to be prepared to lose, because you can lose.
To be honest, it should just be the first 3 guys. It should be Tyreek, the running back for the Miami Dolphins, the rookie they drafted last season who has speed. Yeah, so Tyreek, A-Chain. And I guess you could probably throw in either Raheem Mostert, who clocked in.
Xavier Worthy in there.
No, but I'm talking for the Dolphins. Like you could have those 3 guys in there, and then you could throw Xavier Worthy, DK. You can do, you might be able to get all 8 of these dudes on the track and do it. I think those guys would all do it, to be honest. I know DK would do it. Hell, like you just said, he went on national TV and lost. So I think DK would do it. I think Xavier Worthy would do it just because he went back and ran the 40 again, knowing that he could have a worse time. He got the better. He tied the time. So I think Xavier Worthy, I know Tyreek would do it. He probably won't do it during the offseason, though. He ain't going to do it during the season, obviously. So it has to be a Pro Bowl thing. So, yeah, I think we got 4 guys that would be willing to do it. But to your point, maybe they would back out. Who knows? Yeah,
it's just, I'm just saying that's why they don't have it. Guys are afraid to fail. A lot of people are, though. I'm not just going to put it on athletes.
Fair point. Well, look at that, Mike. We got back into it. It's been a while, but more shows coming. Training camp starts next week, or I should say this week. This episode will be out on Monday. So we want to thank you guys for listening, watching, and if you're listening and you haven't subscribed on YouTube, go ahead and do so. Just hop on YouTube, type in Seahawks Man to Man, and we are right there, looking to get a bunch of interviews done. So our recent one with Mr. Barry, Mike Barry, that was a great episode. Excuse me, Matt Barry. Jeez Louise, all the M's. So we got Mike Macdonald, Mike Barry, or Matt Barry. Mike, I already screwed it up. Who else is on that? Mike Dugar. Can't forget that guy. But look, man, thanks again, y'all. We appreciate all the love and support. Mike, is there anything you want to add?
Thank you guys for rocking with us after the hiatus. Yes, camp, we're going to get right back rolling, preseason, all that good stuff. Appreciate all the love and support, YouTube, submitting all the questions and everything. Hope to see y'all at camp, man. If you see us, man, holler, say what up, man. I love seeing you guys, talking to you guys in person whenever we see us. Just, so if you guys are at any training camp practice, stop us. I guess I'm speaking for Chris. I don't know if we want to talk to y'all. I do, so definitely say what up if you see us, man. I love seeing you guys in person and talking to y'all and hearing from y'all and everything. So appreciate the love. Catch you guys later.